Who is this guy, this Dennis Huizenga? For some people it's interesting to know where I kind of came from, so you can relate and understand why I do what I do. But for some people it's not really interesting to know, so then you can skip this video and just, if you like, you can read the 10-second version in text below. For those who do want to know a little bit more about me, I will try to keep it as short as possible. I grew up with parents who were in the music business. My father was a concert promoter, and when there was a tour with famous musicians, he was a tour manager, and he was really good with people. He always knew kind of how they ticked and he explained to me how he saw it. And for me, I grew up with famous musicians like U2 and Ray Charles, Fats Domino, B.B. King, Bruce Springsteen, all kinds of, in those times, famous musicians. And for me, it really doesn't matter what you do. I like you or I don't. So in my work, this is really a big plus, because I also get famous people in my practice. I didn't continue in the music business, but later on now in my work, what I do now, I have met a lot of musicians, especially in the DJ world. And it's interesting to know that in another way, I got back into the music business at some point, in and out, let's say like that. To make a long story short, my father was always busy. He ate what I thought was healthy. He ate meat, vegetables, dairy, wheats, stuff like that, bread, a lot of bread. He smoked a little bit and he had stress. And at one day he got problems with his heart and he went to the hospital and they checked him out. They said he was okay. He went back to home and that night he passed away. I tried to save him. He was only 48, and what they think at that moment was that he died of a heart attack. For me, this was a really big trauma because I tried to save him, I couldn't save him, and it was really awful. From that point on, I started to learn more about food because I thought he had a healthy way of living. I never went into depth with that, but I wanted to know more, let's say. I started to read, I think, 2 books in a week, did studies about food, about how the brain works, how neuropsychology works. I started to get all kinds of information about breathing and about water and about, let's say, human beings in general. And it was never my intention to do what I do now, but I did all kinds of studies I wanted to understand. I think this is the main reason. I just wanted to understand what went down, what was happening to me. So what was going on? I think I just was a young man who was trying to figure it all out. I had a lot of friends that used drugs and I never was interested. At that point I thought, I don't give a flying, so I just try. I also tried steroids because I was training about 6 to 7 times a week in the gym. I needed to get bigger. And now I can see how interesting this is, but at that moment I just didn't see. I think also because of my unhealthy way of living, my tonsils started to inflame a lot. And at the end the doctor said they needed to get them out by operation. And from that simple operation I almost died. I lost about 1.6 liters of blood and I had an extra trauma in a short period of time. So at that moment I thought, I need to change my life. I need to travel. I need to see the world. So I went to the jungle of Asia. I went to Burma, Thailand, Laos, and from there on I thought I would figure it all out. And a lot of things happened. So in the jungle my first anxiety attack came. And this for me was a complete new chapter. First I got the experience of my father passing away. Then I had the experience of myself almost passing away. And then I had the anxiety attack. And from that point on, it was really intense. I had an anxiety attack in the plane. I didn't want to fly anymore. I had an anxiety attack in the train. I didn't want to go in the train anymore. I had an anxiety attack in the taxi. I didn't want to go in the taxi anymore. So I had a lot of things on my mind at that point, and it took me about 3 years to get out of that. I went to 25 perhaps specialists, but at the end I needed to find the way myself. So I found out how I could get rid of the anxiety, and one of the most important part by far was breathing. So the studies I did, they were kind of holistic. I was looking at breathing, I was looking at food, I was looking at movement, I was looking at mindset, I was looking at quality of water, I was looking at all, for me, interesting parts which were, for me, they and still are, connected. So I helped myself out. I got rid of the anxiety, and it was a really intense time where I could really use somebody to talk to who had the same experience or could help me out. But there wasn't in my circle. So after I got rid of the anxiety, my intention never was to start coaching. I needed, for my idea, I needed the big watch, you know, I wanted the Rolex and the Porsche. I was completely in the rat race. But then people came and asked me questions about their situations because they knew I was studying a long time. I think they saw me change, and in my circle people start to come. And to be honest, it felt really good. It felt really good to help people out. So it developed and developed and developed. I had my own company, and at one point I could sell my company so that I could focus on my coaching practice completely. And with that money I could buy myself time for about, what I think it was about 3 years. So I could go completely for my coaching company for 3 years without having the financial stress. Of course you take it with you, but it was a good start, let's put it like that. I also found out in the years after that there's a kind of a black hole in the system. And what I mean by that is that I think the last year things are starting to change a little bit through my good friend Wim Hof. And he put breathing on the map, I think. I'm not with him in all subjects. I'm with him with cold training. I'm with him on performance, but I'm not with him in the daily practice. In my opinion, your breathing needs to be calm. It needs to be like it's not there. So, and this is a really big difference in the Wim Hof method. So I don't want to discuss the Wim Hof method too much at this point, but just to point out that breathing is a really important part. And I think if you're over breathing, you're more and more in your head and disconnecting with your feelings. So also disconnecting with yourself, but also your surrounding, with animals, with nature, with the world, with other humans. And I don't mean this in kind of like a new age spiritual way. We can make that if we like, but that's not where I come from. For me, it's like the connection here with yourself and with others, like you're being here in the now, the power of the now. Eckhart Tolle said it once and wrote a really good book about it, The Power of Now. That's where I'm at. But I take the breathing as a red wire. So my practice grew, and I understood that the Buteyko method was developed in the 50s, and in these times with stress and all kinds of like things going around with email and telephone and marketing and all the stuff like that, it's not really helpful. So for me, being consciously balanced here in the now is one of the most important parts of my life. And I hope I inspired you a little bit to make time for you. Invest time in yourself to get a more balanced state, to reconnect with your body, reconnect with your surroundings, so that you can reconnect even more with love. Perhaps at the end, that's all what it's about. Who knows? For now, thanks for watching, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.